We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Welcome people watching already. It's going to be a fun, lively show. Phil is our fourth time returning co-host of this show. Definitely in the lead from everybody else. You know how he does it? He stays hydrated. Look at that jug of water.
Yeah, right here, buddy.
It's as big as his head. He's lifting weights and staying hydrated. That's could be on the dating profile.
It is on my dating profile. This is the one picture on my profile. It says I stay hydrated and buff by drinking water.
That's the diet plan they don't want you to. Big Pharma's keeping that away from us.
No, it's fast food. Fast food's keeping that secret from me.
Oh boy, fast food has taken a lot from me already.
Yeah, a couple arteries and
those
at least a toe.
Big Macs. I'll tell you what's getting me lately is those Wendy's tendies. Wendy's has new chicken tenders that are really good with their signature sauce and scorching hot sauce. You get two sauces with a thing of four.
Oh,
and it's the scorching hot isn't that hot. It's kind of misleading. It should just be called our signature sauce, but oranger. Really,
with 2 dabs of Tabasco in it.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, you ready to officially start the show?
Yeah, because I'm wondering, what time is it?
Do you want to know what time is it?
I want to know what time it is.
It can only be one time. It's time for...
What time is it? What time is it? It's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Poduty Podcast Theater at downtown Tarentum, Pennsylvania. I'm Jeff. This is Poduty in the news. I've got a four-timer, Phil Better, joining us.
Four-timer
co-host that has got me all choked up tonight. It's Christmas Eve. And what are we doing? We're talking about podcast news stories, live podcasts in particular, people who are doing their shows at coffee shops, libraries, conventions, events all around the world. They're happening week after week. We have a backlog of 45 stories we're going to try to get through. So what did I do? What sensible decision did I make? I decided to record the show 2 times a week. So you can catch Poduty in the News live Tuesdays and Saturdays and catch it on your podcatchers, whatever I release it. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome four-timer. It's more than the Bulls won in a row. It's Phil Better.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to be here. Being your four-time visitor newscaster here on Poduty in the News. I'm ready to talk about all the live events because they are awesome.
If anybody knows what time it is, it's definitely Phil Better. Phil Better Inc. PhilBetterInc.com. Is that the correct website?
Yeah, you can go to philbetterinc.com. It will redirect you to a Calendly link where you can book a time to talk about all podcasting stuff with me. But if you want to listen to the podcasts, you go to investinyourselfpod.com.
Dude, that was the smoothest transition to an introduction. I'll put all those links in the show notes. Are you ready just to go to the first story?
Let's hit that first story, brother.
We're going to be opening presents early tonight. Let's go to story number 1. The campus is becoming the stage. We're going to file this under the category of live podcast education. Live podcasting is gaining traction in higher education as universities begin treating podcasts not just as media projects, but as live cultural events. At Fordham University, history professor Ryan Purcell is bringing his award-winning podcast, Soundscapes NYC, to the stage with a live show at McNally Amphitheater. Backed by grant funding, the event blends live music, academic discussion, and student-led production, expanding the podcast beyond the studio and into a shared experience. It's part of a growing trend where universities are using live podcasts to engage broader audiences, give students hands-on production experience, and turn education into something people can actually show up for. And, I remember when I was in college, the best elective I could get into was like meteorology. I could study weather patterns. I was a business major, but
Wow.
here's something I think no matter what major you're in, if we've seen anything from the show and the way people are doing live shows around the country, almost any industry can benefit from having some sort of podcast. So
Oh yeah.
no matter what your elective is, this seems like a great class or even a great club to be a part of at your local university.
That is an amazing idea. I know with one of my jobs, I work for a company that does podcast production for big brands. And one of the brands that we work with is a big time business school. And they have multiple different types of podcasts on business, but it's very, very useful for the students, the teachers to connect with the audience, connect with who they're trying to teach. And I think this is great. Doing live podcasts like this allows more people to have access to the knowledge that's being shared. And I love it. I want more universities to be doing stuff like this. Heck,
Yeah.
I want high schools. Like back when we were in high school, Jeff, we had, I don't know about you, but did you have like the local radio station kind of like in the high school radio?
They had an AV club, and we used to have TVs that were strapped to dollies. And
Wow.
if your teacher needed a television, we didn't have them in the rooms. You had to like go to the AV
Yes,
club,
dolly
and they
them
would
in.
wheel a TV into the room.
Yeah, so we had that, but we didn't have an AV club. We only had we just used the PA system, and kids would read the news inside the like the principal's office or the secretary's office. And so I would love, because podcasting is it as we know, it's relatively cheap to go. You just need a couple of microphones you can get at a shop, and you can pretty much run it with Spotify for creators. So I would love to see more, even high schoolers starting this, doing these AVs, because the cost of entry is next to nothing. So this is something I would love to see more students doing.
Yeah, no matter what you're studying, even if you don't even think that you're in the media business, if you don't think that you'll ever use something like this, one, it's a ton of fun just to network with people and be creative and come up with show ideas. You'll enjoy it just for that aspect of it. But one of the things you'll learn from listening to the show is we've covered almost every industry out there. We've had linemen, we've had sports teams, we've had all these different segments, dentists, lawyers, accountants. They're all doing some sort of live podcasting, some sort of way to share their craft with other people, and they're just documenting their stories. They're helping clients, and no matter what industry they're in, this type of medium is a great way to share your information, share your knowledge, and bring new people into what you do.
It is. And it's also talking about schools. There's a school in England called TWS. I can't remember the full name of it, but it's the TWS Sports Podcast. This is a school that deals with individuals with special needs on the spectrum, and they have a podcast interviewing sports legends in England around the UK. And I have to say, listening from the first episode and listening now, it is nearly a night and day change in the confidence that you can hear in these students when they're doing these interviews. And they have been given so many great opportunities, BBC Radio, BBC News. I believe the Commonwealth Games, they were able to run with the torch. Schools should be embracing this because it gives your students the confidence to be able to, public speaking and all that. It is a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, again, almost everybody in any industry, even if you don't have to do large presentations at large conventions, you probably have to speak in front of your managers or your employees. Something about your job you'll have to give a presentation in, and if you had a club like this at your school, just that little extra confidence boost can make you a rock star within your organization. If you're able to get up in front of people and just talk and understand what you're talking about and convey that message to the group, you're going to be better than 90% of the people in your organization because you have this extra skill set that you were able to develop through clubs like this at college.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. I want to see more universities, more schools, more colleges everywhere having these podcasting AV club, because it is the future. We are moving into a creator economy, so we should start learning earlier how to, create great content so that we can up our game. But yeah, and plus, like when schools do this, it actually can like take the lessons to the next level. Like you can go, hey, some professors or some students could be like, oh, we're learning about, the American Civil War, what happened during the American Civil War. I know for a fact there's a podcast out there called 250 and Counting, where they just talk about everything that happened 250 years ago on the date. So sometimes you hear about how one of your guys tried to attack Quebec, during the War of the 1812 and all that. So it goes into a lot of history about what happened in America, and it's a great thing that could be an added bonus for history teachers to share, right? So if you think schools have their history sectors, they can do history podcasts, they can do business podcasts, they can do electrical engineering, like hearing stories of how things were discovered. I don't know about electrical engineering, but like these are possible. So I want to see more universities do this, and it's up to the students pretty much to push for it. But I can't wait.
Well, everything that happened in history, I'm going to transition to everything now is a TV show. We're going to file this under platform shifts. Podcasting's center of gravity continues to shift towards video, with YouTube emerging as the dominant force, reshaping how shows are produced, discovered, and consumed. On the podcast Galaxy Brain, host Charlie Warzel examines how podcasts have morphed into something closer to daytime TV, with NPR's Rachel Martin describing how adding video to her show Wildcard fundamentally changed audience trust and engagement. Bloomberg reporter Ashley Carmen connects the dots from the podcast gold rush and Spotify's billion-dollar bets to YouTube's quiet dominance, while Derek Thompson argues that we've entered an era where everything is television, and podcasts are no longer just something you listen to, but something you also watch. And this one is probably going to hit the it's going to pull at our strings, I think, for Phil and I, because we are diehard podcast people. So how much credit are we giving YouTube? How much are we counting as a podcast on YouTube? But the numbers get really skewed, and the waters get really muddy when you start talking about YouTube's podcast dominance. I'll let you take this one first, Phil.
All right. So here's the thing. I want you to think about how many video platforms are there out in the world?
How many? There's, well, I mean, thousands if you start counting Vimeo, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
Well, right now, there's like three. We'll say there's three.
Okay.
You have YouTube dominating the market. It has 90 to 99% of the market, right? When someone says, hey, where are you going to watch a video? You go to YouTube. You have Vimeo, which is a close, like Vimeo is there, but it's not at that level because they don't have everything behind it. And then you have the others, right? And Spotify can play in there because it does put up videos from time to time with the podcast now, and they're trying to move in there. But that's it. So when people say YouTube dominates the podcasting space when it comes to video, it's because it's the only one doing it. Spotify isn't set up for it. It was set up as audio only. YouTube is the only video platform out there that exists for people like you and me to use. So when YouTube is okay if you're going to be able to, like, if you have a set like Jeff does, and you can beautifully set it up and you have beautiful production and that, then yes, video can work. However, a majority of people don't want to watch two people, two talking heads. They would rather I be in person beside Jeff so that they can actually have a more realistic expression. Yeah, sitting right. I'm like literally pointing at the chair that I should be sitting in.
Oh, wait, I lost my hand. Oh no!
Oh, you lost your hand. But here's the thing: podcast is audio. You're listening to it. It's always going to be audio. There will be video. I believe YouTube will become the next. Is already in the process of replacing standard TV, because you can find sitcoms there. They're not that great because it hasn't been set up like that. YouTube is not made for that. It's made more for, something that catches and changes. But you're going to be seeing YouTube moving into that. It's already talking about it. They're already lightly touching on it to turn it into a more television-esque thing because more people are watching YouTube on their TV. So for me, a podcast will always be audio because that's what it started off with. It's your voice. Video will be an integral part for promotion, and you should have clips on YouTube. I'm never going to say no to that because it's necessary. That YouTube is a search platform, just like Google is a search platform. So for me, saying podcasting needs video is a lie because audio does way better at convincing people to buy stuff than video has. So yeah, I have a problem with this. But I do agree that everything is becoming TV.
Yeah, and I think that podcasters are really just laying down and let YouTube commandeer what the definition of a podcast is. We just kind of like, okay, about 7 years ago, 2017, 2018, YouTube really started to make this play for redefining what a podcast is. And we're like, oh, that's so silly. It's YouTube. YouTube's not really a podcast platform. Oh, they're going to give us a link or we can connect our podcast to our channel. Okay, that's great. It's not really going to bother us in what we do. We're producing audio content. YouTube isn't a podcast platform. It's its own distribution system for distributing videos. We don't, as podcasters, we don't really care about that. And then slowly, YouTube just kept chipping away at what a definition of a podcast is. And I've got some articles coming up where we talk about like what has happened to the real definition of a podcast. The waters have gotten so muddy of what a podcast is that you ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers on what a podcast is anymore. And while purists, have this, it's got to be an MP3 file distributed by an RSS feed to some sort of aggregator. That it has to have some sort of distribution method that you're in control of. That's really the defining core of the podcast. And if you just upload to YouTube, you have no other distribution. So we start saying, what is a podcast? Why does everything have a video now? And we need to really start to fight back at what the definition of a podcast is if we want to, maintain what we're creating and keep this as our thing.
So this is how I look at it. I think a podcast is audio and vodcast is video. If you have a video version of your podcast, you have a vodcast. Like anything that goes on YouTube, that for me is a vodcast. It's a video podcast, right? Making things simple, it's a vodcast. If you're just distributing audio, you have a podcast. If you listen to it on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts, it's a podcast. When you watch it on YouTube, it's a vodcast. If you make exclusive content for YouTube and you don't do the audio versions, then you just have a vodcast. You don't have a podcast. I think if we start pushing that and people understand the difference between a podcast and a vodcast, it's going to help a lot more people understand. Like if you have both a podcast, like you produce the audio and the video like Jeff does for this show, then you can say you have a podcast. I will not be upset if you say, yeah, you can listen to my podcast on YouTube or on Apple iTunes because you release both. That is okay for me. It's the people who only release the video on YouTube that say they have a podcast. That is where I get upset. And I think we should be putting our foot down and say, no, you have a vodcast.
If you start flipping tables.
I'll flip a table right now. Well, I won't because I like my MacBook not being destroyed. Yeah. But I'll flip a table or two.
At the end of the day, I mean, I and I think Phil will as well. We'll still support the independent creators. I don't want to get so hung up in the 100%. But I do think we have to start thinking way outside the box of what we're calling a podcast, and we really have to either relax that definition and just embrace independent content creation, or start making fists and start defending it.
Yeah, like look. 100%. If you're an independent person, you have no team with you and you're just doing it to do the love of the game, cool. The minute you start putting in money into your game, That's when you have to decide, what are you going to do, where you're standing. I personally think if you're just producing audio, you're a podcaster. If you're producing video audio, you're a podcaster. If you're doing video only, you're a vodcaster. That's my thing. Or you're a YouTuber. Why not just call them a YouTuber like we used to call them? Before podcasts got into it and people uploaded on YouTube, they were a YouTuber.
Well, while we're celebrating the definition of a podcast and independent podcast, why don't we go to I love this one, Sobe Whiff, I think that's what they call it, South Beach Wine and Food Festival.
Okay.
This is going full festival mode. Wait till you hear this lineup. Live podcasting is scaling up into a full day festival experience as iHeartRadio launches Chew on This, a live podcast series at the Miami Beach Bandshell. The event brings 5 major podcasts to one stage with a single ticket granting access to the entire lineup, plus food and drinks included. I think tickets were about $100. From comedy and pop culture to food and lifestyle, the series blends live performance, personality-driven content, and experiential entertainment into one immersive afternoon. This isn't just a live recording, it's a curated destination event that positions podcasts alongside music festivals and comedy showcases. And
You have some amazing, this is a great lineup. Obviously, it's probably Bert Kreischer being the headliner with Something's Burning, being the big name on this, but they're all relative. I checked out these podcasts and these channels and these people before, and they're all relatively big names, and it is interesting to see them going there. I love how you have a television network, Food Network, promoting this, pushing this big thing, bringing the podcast out of the basement. As you look at me and you're listening to me, I am in like a basement setting with a stone wall behind me.
Dungeon.
Yeah, the dungeon, coming out of these dungeon studios and bringing them to where people can actually interact with the podcasters. And you can actually see, because for some reason people think, oh, only 20 people listen to my podcast. That's 20 people. You put 20 people in a room. That's a lot of people in a small room. Right. So I love this. I'm hoping more and more festivals bring out podcasters that are related to the festival and do live events. I know Just for Laughs here did a couple podcast recordings a few years ago. I don't know if they're still doing it, but I want to see more events like this, more mid-level to 1% podcasters on it, talking, doing live shows. Again, I think 2026 going forward, because of the AI scare, I think we're going to be seeing it's going to be the age of the live events.
100%. And one of the things that we talked about in the show early on was in the 1980s, there were all these bands touring around, and the glam rock, heavy metal rock became this thing. And you could go to a show, you'd see a band and an opening act, and maybe a local band, all in the same genre. But then they got together and they said, hey, we're filling stadiums. We could fill more stadiums more often. And they created this thing called Monsters of Rock Tour, which was like 15 of the greatest heavy metal bands in the world. Then you had things like Lollapalooza, Lilith Fair, the Vans Warped Tour. Well, what happened is, as people got bigger as punk, like for the Warped Tour, as the punk bands got bigger and can fill bigger venues, they started to pull together, right?
Mhm.
And they started to build these events. And we've seen podcasters who are celebrities and comedians. We've seen them individually start to fill theaters and fill arenas.
Yeah.
But it's going to come a point where people are going to want more value for their money. And so those people will start to pull around each other. If it's a comedian, you might see 2 or 3 comedians on the same ticket doing a live podcast. And this is kind of what we're starting to see, what we've been talking about with this South Beach Wine and Food Festival, where here's some podcasts that are somewhat centered around restaurants, local business, food and wine and drinks. And they're pulling together to make this massive event all around a single topic. So if you love these types of shows, if you like these celebrities and their jokes, and Something's Burning it's a cooking show that's by a comedian.
Mhm.
you're going to get this experience based around food with all these other people who also love experiences based around food. So you're starting to see talent pull together to make bigger and bigger events. And for $100 for a whole night, and including food and drinks, it's not a bad deal to have 4 or 5 shows presented to you and be fed and get and stay hydrated.
Yeah, I think this is a great thing. Like you said, it's reminiscent of when the bands got together for Lilith Fair, Vans Warped Tour, uh, all the big ones doing the tours and that. And then we have seen podcasts fill out arenas. You have the Shits and Gigs doing the O2 Arena, selling out the O2 Arena, but also doing a worldwide tour. Then you have Basement Yard doing not the Garden. They've done 2. What's the big one in New York?
The Kill Tony?
Madison Square Gardens. They've done Madison Square Gardens. They sold out there. These are some big time places, and you're seeing podcasters do this more and more, selling out small theaters, bigger venues. And yeah, I hope there will be a podcast tour, like some comedians do that podcast, do a tour, right? 3 or 4 of them get together. They go and call up a whole bunch of venues and book a whole bunch of venues, do that small tour, split the money together because it's a cheaper ticket. I think podcasters can do that, and it's going to be even more beneficial for them. I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of them do that.
A win-win all around. Pull together. You probably have friends in your area. Just see if you can put a show together. So can 2 or 3 of you have a night out, plan a podcast, do it live in front of your friends, have a little party, get a keg of beer, have some fun putting on a show, and just see what happens and see how much podcasting changed for you and your perspective changes when you see what podcasting can be as a live event, not just something that you record in your basement. But you don't have to just record in your basement. You can go to Johannesburg. We've got podcasting goes global and integrated. Live podcasting is expanding beyond the standalone conferences and into fully integrated creative summits as Johannesburg prepares to host Africa's first integrated creative summit in February 2026. It'll be held at the Sandton Convention Center. The 3-day event brings podcasters together with filmmakers, broadcasters, content creators, technology innovators, and they put them all under one roof. The summit includes live podcast recordings, hands-on workshops, and sessions on African storytelling and AI-driven production, positioning podcasting as a core pillar of the broader creator economy rather than a niche medium. And this is one of those ones that is building on. And if you can be at this place where all these other experts at creating content are going to be there, how much does that help lift podcasting in this area?
Oh, I think this is freaking genius. This is the Johannesburg's event in Africa. This is going to give a major leg up to all the creative podcasters out there because they're going to be connecting with businesses that want to get into podcasting. And there's a chance for collaborations, understanding the next level of game that's coming down the route. I am so jealous of how big this event's going to be. It's something that is going to be insane, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and how about the experiences at this event.
Well, get your passports updated. You have till February 26th. I hope to see you there. I don't think I'll be there though.
It's the 9th to 11th in 2026. So you have at least a month or two to get a month and a few days to get tickets to go.
Get your affairs in order. Here we go. We're going to the end of the year. This year, end of year podcasts go live. We've been seeing all the year-end recaps, all the remixes of your past year. But here's one from Tech Guide. Most podcasters are turning milestone episodes into live events, including the Two Blokes Talking Tech podcast, which wrapped its year with episode 713 recorded live in front of an audience. Hosted by Stephen Fenech and Trevor Long, the live show reflected on the year's biggest tech hits and misses while previewing what's ahead in 2026. Backed by sponsors Arlo and Netgear, The episode was recorded once and distributed everywhere. That's a strategy that Phil and I love. Live audience, YouTube, and audio platform, highlighting how live podcasting sponsorship and multi-format distribution now work together as a single strategy. And because of that distribution, Phil, I think you should take this one.
This is freaking genius. This is genius. Again, doing your milestones, it allows you to set the precedent to your audience. They know, oh, hey, 50, 100, 150, 750, whatever. Whenever you guys hit a milestone that you guys are going to celebrate with your audience, allow your audience to have that celebration with you, and then you distribute it afterwards, right? This is insane because it creates FOMO to the audience. They're like, oh no, we're missing out hearing and seeing and maybe even getting to ask questions of our favorite podcast hosts. Like if I had the opportunity to go see Kevin Smith live, you know I'm there. I already have a standing invitation when one of my friends who podcasts has Kevin Smith on the podcast that I'm allowed to be in the audience, like be there for it. Okay. This is insane. I want to see more podcasts do this. They need to understand that you need to connect with your audience. Again, this is also a reason why you should be niching or niching down, however you want to pronounce it, to not only the subject that you're talking about, but also the location you're talking about can be your niche down or niche down, right? You can be the number one podcast in Trenton, Pennsylvania, which Poduty in the News is because it's the only news podcast in the area, right? So it's the number one news podcast for Trenton, Pennsylvania. And you put that in your show notes, you put that on your website, you put that everywhere. It's going to pick up. It's going to be number one. People are going to start to believe it. They're going to come out and listen to you, right? That's how you can also niche down or niche down. Instead of just being on the topic, it's your location. That's why I think celebrating your big wins by telling your audience where you're going to be. Say, hey, I'm going to be at the Poduty Theater in Trenton, Pennsylvania. So you should come down and celebrate. I know, Jeff, you've had a couple big ones celebrated in your theater, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had some year-end wrap-ups. The wrap parties are the most fun. That's after they complete a season or in between seasons 1 and 2, they'll have parties and they'll bring catering in. They'll bring their fans and they give out prizes and auction. It's a lot. It's a tremendous amount of fun. And it's an aspect of podcasting you don't really think of. And the example in this story, think about your own podcast, right? These two blokes, they go live. What are they doing? One, they got a venue. They're selling tickets. They might be selling merch. They might be selling a VIP experience where you can come and hang out, have a couple beers with them afterwards. You know, they can do all these things to tease up that ticket value and deliver value to their audience. But the big thing, this was all part of their distribution tactic too. One, record this live show. So if you're there in the moment, you get to experience it. But they also record it and distribute it as their own podcast. They put the video up on YouTube. So now you can relive that moment. If you weren't able to make it, maybe you don't live in that town, but you're a fan of these two blokes, you can listen to it when it gets released through their podcast, through their MP3 aggregator to their podcast apps. You'll be able to download that episode when it comes out. And now they can sell ad space on the podcast. They can get sponsors for the podcast. They had sponsors for the event. Why not sponsors for it? So to start thinking about your content that you're creating on this much bigger level, live events add a whole nother element, a whole nother way to monetize that you don't even think about. It's just another part of that ecosystem that you're building that you can really tap into over time.
Yeah, and I think we're like this is we're starting to see the dominoes start falling. Like the bigger podcasts have been doing it, but like I don't know how big Two Blokes Talking Tech is, but you're going to start seeing even the smaller ones do these live events. Like you've had a few that I probably wouldn't call major league, but they've been able to fill out the studio, the theater with their events, right? And these are huge for even a small thing. To have 20 people sitting in your theater when you're doing a podcast, that really shows you the dedication of your audience, but also how crazy it is that you have 20 people listening and you can look at them in the eyes and to actually talk to them one-on-one. So I think podcasters should be building in live events, either networking with local local venues, or even just trying to get it together and just do a live event somewhere, either virtually like we're doing here, Jeff, or actually in person, because I think it's going to benefit podcasters a lot more, because it's going to create that connection and build that community that is so needed in podcasting, because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Yeah, a lot of podcasters get discouraged because they do see these other podcasters filling theaters, filling arenas. I tell people who come in here and sit through the Pittsburgh podcast meetup, I do some speeches from the stage. I tell them like 20 people, and some of them are like, "Oh, I don't know. Do I want to do this for 20 people?" And then I said, "Look at your business model now. Look what you're doing. You're trying to build this podcast, and you're trying to get to host read ads. It's like your big goal, and you don't have 20 people probably listening now. But I'm telling you, you get 20 people, your friends, your family, your relatives, you get them to come in, you get 20 people, and let's say you make $5 a ticket in profit. You just made $100 for one episode of your podcast. For 90% of people, that is more money than your podcast has ever made. And what happens next time we do a live show? You get 30 people and then 40 people. This is something that scales faster than trying to just be a person who reads ads, for $20 per 1,000 downloads. You can exponentially surpass that at a smaller scale, which we know from looking at server logs from Buzzsprout, server logs from Libsyn. 90% of podcasters aren't even getting 1,000 downloads an episode. So most of you aren't even going to get to $20. But with 4 people in an audience in front of you and you make $5 per person, those 4 people equal what you're chasing with 1,000 downloads. So I'm bullish on live events, and I will give you the money ball math anytime you call me up. I'll put my cell phone, probably not in the show notes, but you can email me,
You can
and I will show
DM.
you how live events are, for 90% of podcasters, a much more strategical way to approach this as a business.
So I want to give an anecdotal piece of evidence here. One of the podcasts that I help grow through the business I work with, the agency, did their first live event. Okay, this is a nonprofit, so they're very they don't do live events. They've been running the podcast for about 4 years now. I want to say 5 years. Sorry, 5 years. They've done they did 2 first this season. They've done their first live event, which was recorded earlier this month, and they also did a Reddit AMA. The Reddit AMA, they already were like, it may not be that good. To the credit, we got about a dozen questions in the hour that we ran the MAM on Reddit, which was great because they had no expectations. It was amazing. This is something you can do as a podcaster. You can start promoting it. Check with Reddit, check the threads, subthreads, have your own subthread, and have an AMA there. However, the live event, they were very worried about the live event. The project lead was panicking, and it was nearly a all hands on deck. We did it. They did it in a where the stars. You go see the stars, planetarium room, right, where you can lean back, and they were doing it something that's music and DNA. They were so worried. It went off with it. There were mistakes. There were little hiccups, but they had about 100 to just under 150 people show up. Now, this is a podcast. Yes, it has the money to do promotions, and it's won awards, and it's done really well. But they started, and if ever they can put a case study, they started with near nobody listening to their podcast, and it took them 5 years to get to a point where they can do a live audience and nearly sell out the whole venue. If you start now, you'll start planting the seeds in your audience that you are big enough to have live events. And you should be doing it because it's going to be worth it, because you'll be able to get 100 people at a point at a place, and they're going to be celebrating you. So that's what I say. Do it now, because the brands are doing it, and before you know it, it's going to be like, oh, you guys are just following a trend. You should be setting the trend. So do it. Do it now.
And then soon you'll be able to sell out as much of a stadium as the girls' group chat, from sold out to stadium stage. This one comes to us from the Dairy Journal. We'll file this under live podcast touring. Podcast live shows continue to scale at a pace few could have predicted, except on Poduty in the News, as the girls group chat announces a massive return with a headline show at the SSE Arena in September 2026. Following a sold-out performance at Waterfront Hall, hosts Deanna Doherty, Jordan Arnold, Shannon Mitchell, and Olivia McVeigh are bringing their unfiltered conversations to a full arena audience. It's another clear signal that podcasting has evolved beyond small theaters, with shows now selling tickets at the same scale as comedy tours and live entertainment acts. We have arrived, Phil Better.
I love it. Like, this is, again, more proof and more evidence. When you have good content that connects with an audience, you can end up going to doing live events and people will come to support you. This is, yes, some of these ladies are actresses and actors, but once again, what I love about this is it's proving the stats right. So it just recently, I don't think it was Tom Webster, I think. I'm not sure, but it was an association with Sound Profits. They did a survey study, and they said that females are underrepresented in podcasting, but make up a majority of the listeners, as well as 55 plus, age 55 plus. So if you're listening to this and you are a lady, you should have a podcast, because you can end up being like the Dairy Girls. Like, we've seen it so often. How many of these female-led podcasts, which I love because they should be represented. You have Call Her Daddy, you have this one. There's a few others out there, that the Mel Robinson podcast, that promote it, and women support women. And then you go to a whole venue. I've seen some female comedians doing kind of like a sit-down talk show, and the audience is gobbling it up and loving it. I think this is huge. We need more of it. I just want more live podcasts.
I'll say bap, bap, bap for Whitney Cummings. That's
sure.
That was like her little catchphrase for a while. I don't think she does it anymore, but there is tremendous opportunity. And you're right. I think it was Tom Webster. It was a significant amount of podcasts are produced by men. It's skewed like 70%, 75%. So there is opportunity, and there is a growing audience of women who want more women-led podcasts. So that is one of the fastest growing markets right now. There's enough white guys with microphones.
You got two of them right now on a podcast. Like, we don't need more of those.
Yeah. So
for every two white guys, you have at least one female podcast. No, it's probably like 5 to 1 at this point.
Yeah, it's substantial, but it is a fast growing segment. And when they put on events like this, Call Her Daddy just had a documentary on Hulu. If you get a chance to watch it, it is a tremendous testament to the power of connection that she has from the stage to her fans. So watch that. If you don't think that that's possible for you, you're crazy. There's such an opportunity to make these connections on deeper levels, have more meaningful conversations. Watch. I don't know what the documentary is called, but just search Call Her Daddy on Hulu. It is a great documentary about her. Guess what she's doing? She's setting up a tour to take Call Her Daddy on the road. So if there's any more testament to that, live podcasting is a thing that is happening everywhere all the time. It is growing and growing and growing. Poduty Podcast Theater is the small step for independent podcasters, but we know that it's way bigger than what we built here outside of Pittsburgh.
I personally think if you're an independent podcaster in the Pennsylvania area, I think you should try Poduty Theater first to do your first live event, because one, there's very little pressure. It's very intimate. Jeff is world class. I did my first ever international speaking gig there, and Jeff took care of me 100%. He will make sure that you have a banger of an episode. Even if you have 5 people in the audience, it's going to be killer, because you get to interact with those 5 people, and those 5 people will remember meeting their favorite podcaster.
And I love feeding you too. We'll get some more of that pizza.
Oh God, that pizza is delicious.
Well, that can mean only one thing. We've come to the end of this episode of Poduty News. I want to hear all about Feel Better. How can I connect with you, listen to your podcast, and book some time?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to Poduty in the News with your special guest, Phil Better, the podcast mogul. Now, if you're interested in learning how to grow or monetize your podcast, you can always check out thepodcastmogul.com, or you can search me on all social media at the Podcast Mogul. Now, there's multiple podcasts that I do host myself. So if you are listening to this podcast, I want you to go over to the search feature on your podcast player and search the Podcast Mogul's Playbook to learn how to grow, monetize, and launch your podcast. But if you want to learn how to be a business person or understand the world of business, then you're going to go look for Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, which has been going for over 600 episodes. Now, I've done something horribly wrong as a podcaster, and as a podcast coach, I tell my people only to have one call to action. So this is what I want you to do. This is what you will do. You will go on to whatever social media platform you want. You're going to search for the Podcast Mogul. You're going to follow me, and then you're going to DM me, and I will send you the links for you. I thank you so much, Jeff. You've been a
You did the
Jeff.
mute thing again.
Yeah, it does it automatically. I think I don't know how it happened.
It's magic.
It is. It's magic. I think you did it. It's all
I
Jeff.
didn't do anything. I'm sitting right here.
You have the power. You have probably clicked something.
Well,
But yes.
you said only one call to action, and I'll put all those call to actions in the show notes. But I got more for you. I've got Poduty shirts. We got them $10, 4 colors, 5 sizes, $10 a shirt. They're going to go up to $15 at the start of the year, but the early birds get them for just $10. A tremendous shirt, 100% cotton. And guess what just came in? Poduty hats. Poduty hats, $15 as well. And I want you to host your show here. If you liked anything that we talked about, if you see any potential in our beautiful Christmas decorated stage, I want to thank my daughters for putting the stage together. If you think that what I talk about and what Phil talks about is the future of podcasting, is immersive in-person events, experiences, face-to-face conversations with your fans, this is something to consider. Whether you're near here in Pittsburgh or in Cleveland, Ohio, or Las Vegas, or Seattle, or Miami, or Fort Lauderdale, or even Charlotte. I can keep naming cities if you'd like. But there are ways to produce live podcasts in your hometown. So figure it out. Is there a library, a coffee shop? Is there a civic space? Is there some way that you can put on a live podcast and start experiencing what we're talking about? You know, Phil just talked about a great story in a planetarium where they did a podcast, and we have a theater space here. I've done shows in parking lots and we've given away free tacos and coffee shops. It is a whole nother level to podcasting that you just don't know until you experience it. So think about it, and we'll see you on a future episode. We'll read your news story. If you go out and do a live podcast, send me the story. I guarantee you I'll make it one of our 6 stories on Poduty News. I will promote the crap out of your event. So tell them old Jeffers sent you. And also, one last call to action, I'd love to have a review for the show. We've done 30-some episodes. If you're following along on your local podcast, I've never asked. This is the first time. And because Phil says I can only have one call to action at the end of the show, I'm going to ask you, make sure you follow on your favorite podcast, the one you're listening that got you here, but leave us a review. Or if you don't want to type any words out, just click that 5 stars and let us know how we're doing. That only leaves me with one more question for Phil. Do you know what it is?
What time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's time for Poduty and the News. Poduty and the News. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the News. Poduty and the News.
the news. Oh, he's off stage. He's back in backstage. How does he do it? It's like a magic trick. It's time for, it was time. If you're tuning in now, you missed it. It's not time anymore.
Go back 50 minutes. Travel back in time for 50 minutes.